So we all love a coffee that looks as good as this and has that kind of crema. But unfortunately, with the AeroPress and many coffee techniques, people really overcomplicate things, or they just make them too simple. I really don't want to weigh stuff. I don't want to be that precise, but there are a few ways to make making an AeroPress a lot easier, quicker, and generally a lot more successful. I've tried a lot of different techniques over the years, a lot of different coffees and a lot of grounds, and I hope to show you how to make it quickly and easily if you drink a lot of coffee. I'm Christian Borman. I've been blogging and posting about cars, bikes, food, tech, and all sorts of things for years. So I figured it's time to start vlogging. Yeah, if I were you, I'd run for the hills, or stick around and see what happens. Okay, so we have everything we need to make ourselves our afternoon coffee. We have our fantastic coffee. We have our water, which has been heated slightly more than the 2 minutes, just because I've got to allow time to tell you all this kind of stuff. At the moment, it is at a fabulous 87 degrees and reducing. So we have our AeroPress, we have the top and the filter. You can see there's a bit of coffee, sort of residual coffee in there. I cannot get that out. I've tried everything, but it doesn't seem to affect the flavour at all. I do have another one in there. I can try that at some point. Obviously, you've got to get yourself a cup. Very important things are this scoop. Don't lose this scoop. And the stirrer. The stirrer is very important as well. Get onto that in a second. So whilst this is coming down to a lower temperature, I do it at 80 degrees. There's a few videos out there. Different people do it at different temperatures. I have tried them all. And at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong answer here. Try 80, try 90. Wouldn't try 100, but try 95. Go down to 70. I did for a long time make coffee at 60, 70 degrees. It's good to leave it a little bit longer, but I find 80 in a couple of minutes is, for me, the best. And always remember to measure however much you're going to put in my case 200 millilitres, at this height, not above or below, because you want a consistent 200 millilitres. And in my shake that flat. 80 is pretty much the sweet spot for me, and the amount of time that I brew the coffee. Now, you'll see there, I haven't weighed this coffee. I haven't weighed the water. When I was a student, I did that. Sadly, I just don't have that amount of time anymore. I'm pretty sure most people don't have that time anymore. You just want a good coffee, good result that's more interesting than an espresso. Sorry, an espresso is very good, but they're a bit like a good German car. They start every morning, but they don't necessarily set your heart on fire. Whereas this coffee smells amazing. It's freshly made here in the UK, and when you get a fresh batch of coffee from Monmouth, your whole house smells of coffee. Everybody knows you've got coffee. You go into the tube with some coffee freshly bought from this after you've queued for hours that it seems you have to queue now. I always buy it online just because I can't do those queues anymore. You get into the tube train, smelly tube train. If you've ever been on a London tube train, you know they can smell, especially in winter. But everything smells of coffee. Everyone's looking around going, where's that coffee? It is an amazing coffee. Anyway, in goes the exact measured amount. And this is where, if somebody had measured their coffee, they'd probably freak out a bit, because I have managed to spill a bit. And then I have to go and reweigh everything again. And because I'm shooting a video, I'm going to put this coffee on the floor. Putting coffee on the floor is very good. It helps keep the fresh smell in your room. So we are now at 80 degrees, which is fantastic. So we're going to pour this water in there. Now, as you can see, as you're pouring, inevitably, you will end up with some of the coffee which has been mixed properly, some of the coffee hasn't. There's some unmixed coffee at the top as well. Most importantly, note here the ununiform nature of the bubbles and the fact that the creamer is still dark. And I'm now going to get GoPro cam. And the importance of getting GoPro cam is to show that's what it looks like when you don't really have a very good mix of water and coffee. Here we have some solids which haven't mixed, some water which probably is already over extracting, and we've got to put the stirrer in. This stirrer is really important. You don't want to wait too much time because obviously you don't want to over extract, but at 80 degrees I usually count to have a couple of minutes. Now at the beginning now, when it's not very well mixed, you will see some very big bubbles. Now this is where I said it's important to use the stirrer and not a typical spoon. This is a full-size dessert spoon, but it is really just not cutting it. It's not mixing the coffee properly. And you can see that by the colour of the crema and the fact that the bubbles are not getting smaller. This is just not doing it. The real stirrer, however, as you can see, is making those larger bubbles smaller. It's turning the colour of the crema or the foam on the top to a much lighter, more flavoursome colour, and that basically means it is working in there and extracting all of those coffee grains with that water at that temperature in a way that's going to produce a really good cup of AeroPress. And after you've been stirring for a while, those bubbles will become uniform, and the bloom or the crema or whatever you want to call on the top will become will take on a better colour. With good fresh coffee, you're aiming for a centimetre plus of a good colour crema like this. So here we can see some lovely uniform bubbles. That for me is a pretty good extraction. Now again, there is no perfect coffee, I don't think. It's all about what you want. So do try, give it a bit more of a stir, see if you like it. Some people prefer a coffee that's been more extracted than others. I prefer a coffee when it's about now. We can put that in there. Notice there's a lovely sheen. You sometimes wish I could keep that. This is one of the problems I have with AeroPress. I mean, it's a great way of making coffee. I usually, on a typical day, will make 2 AeroPresses, probably 3. And the reason for that is that it makes a great coffee, right? Now, once you've stirred and you've put the lid on, it's always a good idea to give it a little bit of a swirl. And when you give it a little bit of a swirl, you're letting all of those particles float and extract as well as possible. And when you turn it over, you should see not very much coffee sitting on the sides. If there is, you can always go like that and you'll usually get them down. Now this is the upside down method. It's my preferred method. I don't like pouring it straight in. You'd need a different ground. Here I am using an AeroPress Fast. I do like my coffee slightly more extracted. I am using a lower temperature. I prefer AeroPress Fast. There is an AeroPress Slow. AeroPress Slow is actually used for this upside down method, Fast for the normal method. But remember, I'm only doing 2 minutes at 80 degrees, so the fast grind is better for this. Now remember to press quite lightly. If you press heavily, you will extract bitter and harsh tones. Press lightly, you'll get the more sweeter and delicate tones, and never compress the grinds when you get to the bottom. If you want to find out why, just try a separate part of compressed grounds and you'll see why. It's bitter. Oh yes, this can only mean one thing. It's time to get out the coffee can. So as you can see, at 80 degrees, you still get a piping hot coffee, which is quite a low temperature, but it's still a very warm, pleasurable drink with all the aromas you'd expect. And it's a lot weaker than obviously an espresso, but bear in mind, if I want a really strong coffee, I make an espresso. So I've just used 1 scoop of the scoop that comes with the AeroPress and 200 millilitres of water at 80 degrees to sum up. Brew it for about 2 minutes and make sure you never compress the grinds, and so it should look like this if you haven't compressed the grinds, and you'll get a much better flavour coffee. So I hope you enjoyed this first video of mine on coffee. I will be making quite a few videos on how to get things done from tech to coffee and defenders, things like that, all totally related subjects. In a simple way that allows you to get on with your life and actually enjoy them. I hope you'll like that enough to hit the subscribe button and see what else we get making in this new journey of mine. Thanks for watching.